So I want to go side by side. Okay, perfect. So it should be good to go.
Yeah,
and am I still on screen or no?
We can see you.
Perfect. Okay.
And we see the presentation.
Okay, I'm trying to do first. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay. And apparently you're recording me, so I better be on my professional best behavior. Okay, here we go. Can you just do me a huge favor? And I'm going somewhere with this. Can you just make sure that that is put behind me? Sure. Okay. So first screen, I'm happy to introduce myself, David, and we can go from there. So I'm Rod Refcio, folks. How many people we're talking to today?
We have 10 of us with us today. 10 students.
Am I allowed to do giveaways?
Sure, I don't see why not.
Okay. So has everybody already waved to me?
I believe so.
Okay, so the first person on screen that waves to me right now gets $50. Oh, I think we have a winner, Maisie Lovey. Is that correct? Am I pronouncing that correct? Okay, she won $50. And I can tell Abigail just got real excited, okay? And I think everybody now is going to remember my name, Rod Refcio, correct? Yeah. I see you laughing, Abigail, okay? And you're having a great time already. So, Maisie, you're up $50. Appreciate that. I'm Rod Refcio. I'm CEO and senior lawyer of Refcio and Associates. I'll just give you a brief background. I was an economist, worked in banking before I was a lawyer, okay? I've done a lot of different things, serial entrepreneur, commercial real estate investor, residential real estate investor, in that respect. I used to work for the big law firms, and then started my own. I guess it's been about 12 years. Time flies when you're having fun or starting your own business. And I've done a whole bunch of different things over the years, but first and foremost, I would say I'm an entrepreneur in that respect, and that's why these types of opportunities I'm thrilled about. So maybe this is my first $50 winner, and if you pay attention, I would presume that there are other opportunities. So pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this is great news, folks. You're going to get free legal advice. Free legal advice. 3 words that you're probably not going to hear at any point in time if you're pursuing your entrepreneurial careers in the future, if you get that joke. Can I get to the next slide, David, please, and thank you. Okay, so primarily I'm going to get to the meat or to not offend anyone who's vegetarian or vegan on this. We'll say the nuts and bolts of my presentation from a practical legal perspective today, okay? But what I'm going to tell you is this is not your normal boring lecture, okay? You're going to get paid to pay attention, okay? Let me say that again. You're going to get paid to pay attention and demonstrate to me that you are going to be all exceptional entrepreneurs or know how to operate like an exceptional entrepreneur. So Maisie has already got her first taste of $50 just for paying attention and raising her hand. That was the easy one. Now I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts, and we're going to get into the different types of business structures in Ontario. So I'll give you the first one. You have sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship is pretty much very basic, good for anybody, okay? And I'll give you my rules about when you should consider doing a sole proprietorship. If, for example, your total max gross revenues are going to be less than $30,000, sole proprietorship may be for you, okay? Sole proprietorship, in terms of getting a sole proprietorship, all you have to do is apply to the ministry for your license to operate as. So I'm going to pick on Brooke Davidson. Are you there, Brooke Davidson?
I am here.
Perfect. So you're not on screen, so I can't see you, but if you're shy, you don't have to in that respect. There you go. Perfect. So is it okay if I use you as my guinea pig, for example, if you want to be a sole proprietorship?
No problem.
Excellent. So Brooke Davidson is going to get her sole proprietorship license. I think it's about 65 bucks. Okay. And she wants to start a company that's working from home. It's a side hustle. Okay. And she'd be thrilled to make $20,000 a year. Okay. Sole proprietorship is probably for Brooke. We'll call her company 123 Awesome. Okay. And it's going to sell awesome products. Okay. She registers herself operating as 123 Awesome. Okay. Now has a license. She can open up a bank account as Brooke Davidson operating as 123 Awesome. Follow me? Okay. Now, unfortunately, there is no distinction between her personal capacity as Brooke Davidson and her company, because it's Brooke Davidson operating as 123 Awesome. Follow along, folks? So, from a lawyer's perspective, why is that bad? I'll answer my own question, okay? Because if something happens and unfortunately there's a product or service that goes sideways, then, and it causes damage, we describe it to one of Brooke's customers, then Brooke's going to get sued. And it's Brooke getting sued personally, even though she paid $65 and is operating as 123 Awesome. Okay. Now, I'm not that concerned because her total business is only $20,000, maybe $25,000 per year. So we presume overall liability is not a big issue. So for people that are not looking to expand, then and has to have a little side hustle, it's a great business structure. Okay. The other thing I will tell you is that for a tax, and I'm not trying to steal from the tax presenters or otherwise, but if you make less than $30,000 in gross revenue over 4 consecutive quarters, you don't have to charge the HST. So I'm the proud son of a now retired accountant. And so I've been hearing it since I was knee high. And why I would mention this to you is that if it's a side hustle, it's not a big deal. There's not likely a lot of liability, and that will change between the business structures. Then I'm cool with being a sole proprietor. Okay. In that respect. If you have questions as we go along, do we do them at the end, David?
It's up to you. It's a dealer's choice.
Okay, fair enough. So my choice, I'm going to rapid fire through this, and I'll try and give you more Q&A. But pay attention because questions at the end will be worth, okay, in that respect. Point number 2, partnership. Okay, here's what I'll tell you about partnership. Don't do it. Yeah, I said it. Don't do it. Let me say it 3 times. Don't do partnerships. Partnerships, in my experience, I've been practicing law for well over 15 years, result in liability. People do them all the time, for sure. But I've already given you an idea as to how essentially partnerships or sole proprietorship works. Partnerships are just sole proprietorships that have 2 or more people involved. The challenge with partnerships, though, is that you have to come up, if you're smart, with a partnership agreement. And then even if you retain legal counsel, you have to set forth who owns what and account for all the potential contingencies that may arise as you're operating a business partnership. Now, my same rules will apply. If this is a side hustle between 2 people, I'm okay with a partnership if you never plan to do more than $30,000, and there's not a lot to fight about. But I will tell you that partnerships are a challenge because even if you have a team of 10 lawyers like myself working, it's impossible to figure out every single contingency and what happens. So generally partnerships break apart at some point, either because the business didn't work or the business did work and you made so much money that now you can afford 2 lawyers like myself to fight each other for years. And that's not good for business either. Great for lawyers, bad for everybody else. Did you get that joke, folks? Okay. So that being said, in all fairness, if it's a small part-time business of less than 30,000, I'm okay with partnerships. But if you're looking to expand beyond that, it's exactly the same structure as you have the sole proprietorship. You pay your money, it's $65, give or take. And then it's the two people, I'll say Brooke and Tracy, are you there? Are you there, Tracy? Yes? No?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So if Brooke and Tracy decide to go into partnership, then that's fine, only if it's a side hustle. You don't have to listen to any of this disclaimer, advice that I'm giving, seek your own lawyer, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. I'm only a guest lecturer today, not your actual legal counsel. Had to get all that disclaimer stuff out of the way. But all jokes aside, in all seriousness, same rules apply for partnership because it's almost impossible to figure out every single contingency. Moving on to number 3, corporation. Corporation, there are 2 different types. Most corporations and businesses start off as private. The definition under the Ontario Business Corporations Act of a privately held company is less than 50 shareholders. I'll say that again. The definition, for simple terms, and I'm oversimplifying for the purpose of today, is less than 50 shareholders that you can have in a privately held company. Publicly held companies are usually more than 50 shareholders, and eventually they end up being traded on stock exchanges like the TSX or otherwise, or they can be traded globally, etc., that sort of thing. But privately held companies in the province of Ontario generally do not have more than 50 shareholders. Getting back to what is a corporation? A corporation is a separate entity from the individuals who set up the corporation. This is a key point. A corporation, separate entity. That means that corporation can enter into business, sign contracts, have its own bank account. It has to file its own taxes. It is basically an entity, okay, in that respect. How is it controlled? The corporation issues shares. Shares are given to shareholders, and how many shares you own determines how much power you have with the corporation. Generally, it works like a democracy. If you have 100 common voting shares, then you own all the shares, you own all the votes, you control the company. If you own 51% of the outstanding common voting shares, you control the company in that respect. And the reason why is that you can elect by way of vote who is going to be director of the corporation and who is going to be officers of the corporation. So it's very, very simple democratic perspective. If you own less than 51%, then you're subject to everyone having to vote on absolute everything, and they have to be in agreement with whatever is put forward. So that's a critical point. Minor side point, lawyers and case law stipulates that if you own 75% or more of the outstanding shares in a company, then you have what's called super majority. Why is super majority very important, Mr. Refcio, is what you should be asking. Well, if you have 51%, it's only a minority interest, okay? That means 49% are opposing it. So you don't have as much control of the company if you want to change direction of what the corporation is doing or doing something significant. However, if you have more than a supermajority, some will argue it's 2/3, but for safety features, I always tell you, have more than 75% of the common voting shares, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with respect to the corporation. Now, that being said, certain things like shutting the corporation down or otherwise could still be restricted from use, but owning 75% as a good rule of thumb gives you complete control. You may hear or encounter where people say, oh, I'm diluted. If you watch Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, that sort of thing. The sharks are always saying, well, you know, I want to be in charge, or I want control, etc., that sort of thing before I give you my money. What very often happens with entrepreneurs is they're giving up equity, which means they're giving up control. Giving up control is fine, but if you go down past 75% supermajority, then you have more accountability to your other shareholders. And if you go below 51%, then effectively you may be kicked out of your company, not as a shareholder, but as an officer and director. So Steve Jobs is infamous for this because even though he founded Apple, ran it for years, he was a visionary, but even though he was a huge shareholder, they eventually decided to kick him out as CEO. We all know the rest of the story. 15 years later, they came back. He turned Apple around, and that's why we all got iPhones today in that respect. But that's a very, very good historic reference point to firm up what I'm telling you, which is why it's absolutely critical to have more than 75%. If I'm your legal counsel, that's the advice I'm going to give you. But if someone comes along and says, hey, I'm willing to give you $1 million for 49%, and you need that $1 million to grow your business to 10 million, you may wish to consider giving up as much as 49%, but never give up more than 51% or more than 50%, folks. That's my candid free piece of legal advice. Again, it's just my opinion. Sometimes there are exceptions. For example, if you have 3 people, each party might get 33.33%. That's fair. You all start equally. I'm okay with that. How corporations privately are governed is by shareholder agreements. The shareholder agreement, unlike the partnership agreement, is different. The shareholder agreement specifically sets out, on average, they're about 20 pages. Candidly, about 60% of that is the standard boring legal language in that respect that the courts want to see, everyone wants to see, that sets out what happens. So for example, if Brittany, Abigail, and Brooke are going into business together, each owns a third. Well, if, and I'm not, again, lawyers are paid to be paranoid, that's my catchphrase, okay, so take no offense to anything that I say. But if Brooke passes away, what happens to her shares? Well, if you have a shareholders agreement, it says what happens. So now Abigail and Brittany know exactly what to do. There's no dispute. And that goes equally if anybody effectively passes away. That's just one example. Example number 2, Abigail, Brittany, and Brooke started with 123 Awesome Inc. It's now worth $24 million because they are awesome, okay? And they sell awesome like nobody's business. Pick up what I'm putting down? So then Brooke goes, you know what? I'm worth $8 million. That's more than enough money. I'm out, folks, okay? And Abigail, she's ambitious. We know that. I can tell. I know my smile on my tribe, okay, as they say. That right there. You and me get along fine. You go, 8 million, Brooke. That's nothing. We're gonna take this thing to 240 million, okay? No, I just want to live a simple existence, travel the world, et cetera, et cetera. Totally cool. Guess what? Brittany and Abigail come up and they say, you know what? Pursuant to the shareholders agreement, we're going to now buy your shares for $8 million because that's fair market value. Brooke exits, and now Abigail and Brittany go on to take on the world, okay? Or they decide to sell the shares at a higher value to a third party because they need more cash as they're both looking to take over the world, if you follow what I'm saying. These are all hypotheticals that I deal with in the real world every single day. So I'm big on building this foundation. And the advantage of the corporation is that the corporation is a separate entity that does not live, does not die, can continue forever, okay? Everyone familiar with CIBC Bank or Royal Bank or otherwise? You know what Royal Bank's total capitalization is for assets under their control? Any guesses? I'll tell you. And this is a key point for future reference. 1.6 trillion with a T, okay? That's right, $1.6 trillion. They're a corporation that started approximately 200 years ago. Power of compound interest, etc. The guys that started it way back when, they're not around, but the corporation still is, if you follow what I'm saying, okay? Jeff Bezos, I believe, just formally retired or resigned, so he's out. I think what's he worth, 165 billion or something like that. So he needed a little bit more money than Brooke to get by. It's a tough life, okay? but he's out. Amazon, anybody got any concerns that Amazon isn't going to continue tomorrow? Yeah, no, not a chance. Okay. So that's the power of that corporate structure, if you follow what I'm saying. Okay. So it's absolutely critical when you're setting up that foundation that you have to think in that respect. Other key points here that I've got on this slide, which is a critical one, name ownership. I mentioned Amazon. Anybody heard about Facebook? Little antiquated Instagram. Abigail would like to start Facebook landscaping. Nice try. Okay. When you're establishing a corporation, I mentioned 1, 2, 3, awesome. You have to be sufficiently distinct. Okay. If you're operating as 1, 2, 3, awesome, but a sole proprietorship or partnership, you don't get to own or lay ownership claim to your business name. I don't know if you remember seeing the social network that came about Facebook. It actually does a pretty good job from a legal perspective, although it's a movie, identifying certain legal issues. One of the big ones was that they ended up incorporating and actually owning Facebook, which is now worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. I think it just hit $1 trillion in valuation in a relatively short period of time. I think it's the fastest ever, if I'm not mistaken. Why is that important? If they were simply a sole proprietorship, someone would have scooped that name and said, see ya, okay, we own it, you don't. Sorry, Zuckerberg, you're broke. True story. Fortunately, that didn't happen. They incorporated it, and the goodwill that I make reference to is now gone to be worth $1 trillion. So having corporate ownership, and when clients come to me, they'll say, hey, Rod, I want to do whatever the numbered or whatever the company name is. I run the searches, make sure it's available, and it's sufficiently distinct from something else. So Facebook landscape, and unfortunately, it's not going to fly, because let me blow your mind. Face is a generic word. Book is a generic word. You're not going to be able to go Face Inc. or Book Inc. However, if we take two generic words and we put them together, we create Facebook. I'm sounding like Justin Timberlake if you've seen the movie, okay? And that's worth $1 trillion. So goodwill is absolutely critical to secure through corporate ownership. That's one of the big benefits, is that you're effectively, as lawyers will argue, say, I've put my stake in the sand. I own Facebook, nobody else does in that respect, and you go from there. Microsoft, Amazon, Uber, so on and so forth. Why this is critical is that if you're planning to do much more than a side hustle and grow your business, then in my opinion, you want to protect that which you grow. If you don't, then anybody can come along and go, oh, hey, thanks, appreciate you doing all the hard work. And I put some other tips there. You should make sure you get the proper domain name, okay? And that you've registered your Instagram and your Facebook accounts all in advance before you go out there and start spreading the word about your particular brand. You can still do it, and a lot of people do, but if you don't own your business name, you can expect that people will come after it and go, thanks, in that respect, and go from there. Again, as your counsel will advise you, I'm paid to be paranoid. You want to make sure that you're setting up the foundation for your corporation properly if you want the ability to grow. And just to kind of wrap up about private, in that respect, it also gives you liability protection. So remember when I said it's not you that is doing business like a sole proprietor or a partnership, it's a separate entity, okay? So if the entity, something goes wrong, it's not you getting sued as a shareholder. We have it what's called the corporate veil of protection. So I'm literally hiding back and can't see me because it's not public record who owns the shares in a privately held company, okay? The officers and directors are public knowledge, but who owns the actual shares is not public knowledge. And shareholders, it's all, I'm not saying it's 100% possible, but almost impossible to sue a shareholder unless they've done something fraudulent or otherwise through the corporation. So that's another huge advantage. The other few advantages is terms of exit strategy. I'll spare you the lecture about asset versus share, but sale of assets, because you have to think about exit strategy. But if someone comes along and offers to Abigail, Brittany, and Brooke, who are still in business, 240 million, okay, they might offer shares, they might offer dollar value, cash or otherwise. That's how, for example, Facebook acquires Instagram. They'll say, hey, our shares are worth a ton. We'll give you so many shares in Facebook if you sell us the controlling interest in Instagram, if you follow what I'm saying in that respect. So as we go forward, the other advantage is, let's say the worst case scenario, something happens that you're selling something to a customer and they get injured or something bad happens. They sue you for $10 million. You can bankrupt the company, okay? And you don't have to go bankrupt yourself. Let me give you a historic reference point. Most of the people I imagine here, anybody remember typewriters? Okay, those antiquated things, okay? So 40 years ago, they were the bomb, okay? That was it, okay? You didn't have laptops, okay? You had typewriters, that was it, okay? Way before my time, folks, just so you know, okay? But that being said, I heard stories, okay? Now, if you told in 1981, the guys that ran multi-billion-dollar typewriter companies, that these two guys, college dropouts, Billy Gates, okay, and Stevie Jobs, have you heard of them? Okay, are going to wipe out your multi-billion-dollar typewriter industry. They'd be like, with what? With computers. Computers are the size of rooms. That'll never happen. Okay. Well, we all know what happened, right, folks? Okay. So sometime within 10 years thereafter, all those multi-billion-dollar typewriter companies, bye-bye. Okay. Now, those guys made billions of dollars for years and years and years before. And then eventually they're like, hey, nobody's buying typewriters, we're out of business. The company goes bankrupt, but all the money that was pulled out goes to the shareholders before in that respect. So why I'm mentioning this is that just because you're successful today, anything can change, technology changes, that type of thing. And when you're building the foundation, which may include the corporate structure, and if you're looking to build, it's probably no secret based on what I've told you, if you're looking to build a large a business, then corporation's usually the way to go. And that's why I'm a huge fan of it for all the reasons that I've told you. And it gives you the ability to protect what you're building, as well as effectively protect against liability, protect even if there's a change, typewriters to laptop computers, to iPhones, etc., that sort of thing. That's just the nature of it. To give a more recent example, BlackBerry is still around, but those of you may not remember 2007 when BlackBerry was very cool, before this little thing called iPhone came out with a guy in a turtleneck who was like, yeah, so basically this is better than BlackBerry. And BlackBerry is like, what are you talking about? We're way awesome. We're number one. And anybody got a BlackBerry? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. If you actually have a BlackBerry, I'll give you $50. Anybody? Anybody?
I have one in my living room.
Shut up. Okay.
I'm
Better
very,
hold that thing up. Look at that, folks. That is an antique relic. I had that one. Okay.
I loved
That goes with me.
BlackBerry.
It's awesome.
I loved it.
I love the tech because I had a good friend of mine who worked there, used to get massive money. The security is a million times better than iPhone. Okay. Anybody care? Oh, okay. Bye-bye. Okay. They're still around. They now are trying to do total data, and they have a really good program for self-driving cars. Look it up on Google or otherwise. But that, they're not in the phone business. And they were number one. Like they were building in Waterloo, their head office. They still own a ton of real estate, they basically, everyone wanted to go to Waterloo and be cool like BlackBerry, and then they died because that's business. But that's another real example of how technology advances can change, and while still having your corporate structure is absolutely critical. You won $50 out of Gail, and I appreciate me picking on you slightly, but only in a positive manner in that respect. Brooke, you're up $50 too, and Brittany, appreciate your participation thus far. So I'm going to pause there momentarily, but can you flip to the next slide? So I'm going rapid fire here in that respect, and I'm trying to give you 20 minutes of Q&A if need be, okay, in that respect. So business operation structure, okay? I've already told you how to build, okay, that corporate structure if you want to have the big business. If you're just looking for a side hustle, I told you this, no big deal, pay your $65, okay, in that respect. But candidly, if you're looking to grow, corporate structure is probably the way to go. And then I should, if I forgot, once you have that corporate structure, you can take a privately held company and do what's called the IPO, which is the initial public offering, okay? You will probably be in business for no less than 5 years because you need significant financial data, and you probably need, depending on how much, like let's say conservatively 25 to 50 million before you can even consider going that route, okay, in that respect. Now, what I will also tell you is you will hear about, if you watch Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, that type of thing, you hear about like series round financing, okay? Or if you want to do, how can I put this? You can have different classes of shares in the corporation, okay? So people can buy in without voting rights, and it's a ways to raise capital in that respect. I'm getting pinged here because my CFO is going to chastise me if I don't do some Instagram. Is everybody cool with Instagram for today's purpose? Okay. I'm going to pause momentarily. Disclaimers. I'm adding to my story.
I think it's okay. Everybody want to smile?
Everybody cool with that? You're talking to a lawyer, so I got to get the disclaimer. If you don't, then I'll
if you can't turn your camera on, throw up an emoji.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm posting, folks, in that respect, because I was almost going to forget, but I'm going somewhere with this. Just give me 1 second here. Disclaimers. Hold on. If you don't, then I'll block you out. Setting goals. Once you've got your foundation, anybody in the room, I'll do it by show of hands. Who wants to be a millionaire within the next 5 years? Did anybody not raise their hand? Okay. That can include you too, David.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll just point out the Lotto Max is currently $65 million on Friday, if you want an easy way, okay, in that respect. All jokes aside though, here's what I'm a fan of, okay, in that respect. I'm a fan of basically reverse engineering, okay? So set your goal, okay? So is it Evody? Am I saying that properly? Evody, thank you. Evody gave me a nod of the head because she wants to be a millionaire by the end of 2022, correct? Okay, damn right. So how do you get there? Okay, you go, by December 31st of 2022, I want my business's gross revenues for 2022 to be $1 million. What do I need to do in the next 6 months? What do I need to do in the next 6 months thereafter? And what do I need to do at that point? Okay. And if you have that mindset, okay, now that your corporate structure, et cetera, is set up, then you're going to say, okay, her business idea is I'm going to sell a product that is worth $100. Okay. For a $50 gift card, how many do you have to sell? I'm looking at you because it's your business. Say your name again because I'm going to mispronounce it.
Evity.
Ebony, how many products do I have to sell for $100 to make $1 million in gross revenues?
Oh my God. We talked about this before. I failed math, so
Okay.
failed math.
So there's no problem that you can't overcome because you have an iPhone, okay? Right? So you go, okay, let me take you through this. Simple, $1 million divided by 100 equals 10,000, okay? So why I'm mentioning this is that you need to sell 10,000 units to hit gross revenues. That's only gross revenue of $1 million. Then you break it down and go, if I start selling on January 1st, 2022, then I have 365 days to sell 10,000 units. Divide by 365, I have to have 27.39 sales every single day, no weekends off, okay, if it's an online business, to hit my goal of $1 million in gross revenue. Now, it was a trick question because gross revenue of $1 million doesn't equate to $1 million because you have your cost of goods sold. Follow me, folks? Okay. So also factor that in, how many units you've got to set. The only reason why I'm mentioning this is that I love helping people with all their corporate legal stuff. I'll give you as much business advice because I'm an economist, a serial entrepreneur, et cetera, that sort of thing. But if you don't set your goal, then consciously and subconsciously, you're going to waver, okay? Because at the end of the day, business success is determined by whether you're profitable or not, and that's it, okay? Once your business is successful, you're making profit, et cetera, then you can adjust accordingly. And everyone starts off small, humble beginnings, and then go from there. Now, sometimes companies I've been involved with, their investors are putting in $20 million and they're going to the next level, okay? But if they're starting at 20 million, they're looking to do, 200 million within the first year. And you go, well, that's a big goal, but it's all relative. So don't get intimidated because the guys that I'm talking about and all entrepreneurs, okay, if you watch Shark Tank, et cetera, that sort of thing, and I'm going to forget who named the serial entrepreneur that did Spanx, who's on there. I think Kendra Scott is another one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a huge fan of her because she started with absolutely nothing and runs a multi-billion-dollar diverse jewelry, clothing, et cetera, that sort of thing. I'm dating myself, but she's in the media. Jennifer Lopez, brilliant businesswoman. Okay. Oh yeah, she sings, she dances, she acts. She's got some brains, okay, in that respect. That's her biggest asset because she diversifies and she's big on vertically integrated monopolies. So what a vertically integrated monopoly means is that you control all aspects of the business, and that's what she likes to do, and that's why she dumped Alex Rodriguez, and that's all I got to say about that for your pop culture references of the day. Yeah, I see you laughing, Jenny B. Okay, you're picking up what I'm putting down. You still got to earn your 50 bucks, I think, though. So assemble the advisors. I am not currently counsel, unfortunately, to Jennifer Lopez, but Jennifer, give me a call, okay? But I can't compete with Ben Affleck anyways, in that respect. All jokes aside though, your advisors, okay? Absolutely critical, okay? Have your lawyer, have your accountant, have your banker. I'll explain why. Your lawyer is going to give you all of this candid commentary, okay? What I'm infamous for telling my clients is, you are literally paying me $400 an hour to tell you to not make a bad emotional decision. Do you wish to continue to pay me $400 an hour to tell you you're making the wrong decision from an emotional perspective, or do you want to listen to your legal counsel? That's the job of a lawyer. Think about it. I'm very passionate, if you can't tell. I'm passionate about the law, okay? I love business. I'm passionate, that type of thing. But business should be non-emotional. Be passionate but non-emotional. Don't get frustrated. You're going to have customers that are going to complain. That's the nature of it. We're all familiar with the troll factor. That's the nature. The challenge that you will face is 80%, maybe 90% of your customers will be thrilled investing in 1, 2, 3 awesome. And then you have 10% that are going to go online and leave negative Google reviews because their coffee was too hot, Their coffee was too cold. Their pizza slice wasn't big enough. They expected more pepperoni or no anchovies. And, I ordered the pizza and it was supposed to be given to me in 30 minutes. I got it at 31 minutes. It should have been free. You're going to hear it all in business. Accept that. Okay. That's the nature of it. And I always tell people, view every single customer complaint as an opportunity to improve delivery, okay, of whatever your product or service is. Somebody complains, I thank them. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. What can I do? Would you like a gift card to Starbucks? Would you like this? Would you like that, etc.? Absolutely critical. I don't get upset. Mark Cuban is infamous for saying this, and Google him. I won't steal from him too much, but he basically says the success in business comes down to customers. If you have customers, if you don't have customers, okay, that's it. Why I'm mentioning is that your lawyer is going to give you as much advice in a non-emotional, practical perspective. The accountant, I'm the proud son of a now retired accountant. Taxes, folks, taxes are a big deal. Current corporate tax rate for up to $500,000 is approximately 12.22%. Thereafter, I believe it goes to 26.5, but I'm not giving any tax advice. Talk to your accountants, but absolutely critical. Your banker, I'm a former banker. You're going to need a corporate bank account. Okay, that's just the reality. Cryptocurrency, don't get me started, but until they legalize it and govern it, I don't know. Okay, it's tough to do business that way. It'll probably happen in our lifetimes, but until it's regulated by government, the only form of legal currency out there is governed primarily by banks. You have a corporation, you need a way to take money in. Now, it doesn't matter to me whether you're using PayPal or otherwise, e-transfers, it's all cool, but you need to have a good relationship with your banker. Bankers inherently are risk averse because they've been doing it a long time and they don't like a lot of risk. But if you establish good relationships with your bankers right from the start, then as they see you're being successful, it's easier to access capital without having to share or sell, I should say, equity, which is absolutely critical. So open up your corporate bank account, start showing your banker, hey, every month I get, 10,000, and then it went to 20,000, and then it went this, and now I've got more money, easier to access. So build those teams of advisors as much as possible. Briefly, before we go to Q&A, owner, manager, employee. It's about the right fit. I didn't understand that when I was starting off, okay? But ultimately, you want people that are passionate about what you do. You want them to share your vision. As entrepreneurs, you should be visionary, but understand 1% of the population is maybe entrepreneurs, and the 99% are not so much. It's got to be a balance. You want to inspire your employees, do things that share the vision and get them working for you. I'm a big fan of companies that offer share options to companies or to company employees, because that effectively gives an incentive and turns company employees into minority shareholders. So that's the other cool thing about corporate structures. But when I say about fit, you're going to have people, I've had many, many employees over the years, and it may be a fit for a certain period of time, and then something changes. They get married, they get divorced, they decide to move to who knows where. That happens in life, but never steer away from having the right fit. And ultimately, in my opinion, that means surround yourself with as many employees, managers, etc., that share your vision and your passion. Your mission statement should be absolutely critical to how you're running your business. Can I get the next slide? Okay, final words of wisdom. It ain't easy, folks. It ain't easy. It's 24/7, 365 if you want to be an entrepreneur. For those of you who don't have children, it's basically like having a child. A puppy is a close, okay, but it's basically your own child. You love it, you're passionate, it's always on your mind, you dream about it. That's just the nature of it, okay? If you're not that way, do something else, because that passion is the only thing that's going to get you through when, and I won't use profanity, but when blank hits the fan, and it's going to, that's the only way that's going to get you through, is if you're passionate. What I would describe, and this would get me through it, I call it surfing. And I'm not a surfer, although I wish I lived in California, been there a few times in that respect. And I used to have the hair to match back in the day. But surfing is like this, okay, is similar to entrepreneur. You know, when they have the tunnel waves, okay, and you see the professional surfer, you're like, that guy's crazy, okay, but he's looping through because he sees the vision. I can make it, and it looks like it's going to crash, okay, and yet the surfer makes it through. That is the equivalent to entrepreneurship, okay, in my opinion, okay. And guess what, folks? Sometimes you crash and burn, okay. And then you swim up to the surface and you catch the next wave, you learn and you move on. That's what keeps me going, okay? And believe me, the past year, because of the pandemic, etc., every single business plan has had to change, okay? That's just the nature of it. And you've seen so many pivots. Back to just finishing this up long term. Where are you going to be in 3 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 10 years? Okay? What you think is cool right now, it's not going to be cool in 5 years. It sure as hell won't be cool in 10 years. And you look back and go, why was I wearing my hair that way? What was I thinking? Okay. I'm telling you this because I can look back and go, hey, what you think is cool back then is not cool now, but think long term when you're an entrepreneur. Best thing about being an entrepreneur, you're in charge. Okay. It's your show. Do what you want. Okay. If you think that you should have all the walls in your office space painted fuchsia, totally cool. That's on you. Okay. And the bad thing about being an entrepreneur, you're in charge. Okay. Mr. Revco, the toilet's backing up. Okay, sure, that's fine. Miss Abigail, yeah, production didn't go the way we thought. The whole line is down. Okay, how much is that going to cost me? $72,000. Surf, Abigail, surf. Okay, true stories. Okay, not the Abigail story, but the backed up toilet. Yeah, lived through that. Fortunately, I now have staff that's in charge, so aspire to that. Okay, but guess what? When I started, I didn't have anything. You know, I'll tell you. I'll give shameless self-promotion if I can get the next slide, David. Is basically I started my own law firm with my kitchen table, okay, a laptop on credit from Best Buy, okay, yeah, that's right, on credit from Best Buy, okay, and $50 worth of Staples business cards, okay, and a vision and a dream, okay, and my thought was, hey, if I'm going to be a lawyer, I think I want to create a 21st century law firm that's cool, does it better. And everyone thought, you're crazy. You're going to charge flat fees. Nobody does that. What do you mean you don't charge for phone calls or emails? You're crazy. You're never going to make any money. But I saw how tech was going to change things. I did not predict a global pandemic when I started in 2009. In 2020, that would mandate a lot of this technology. But what I will tell you is that I had that vision, and now I'm seeing the fruits of all of that hard work, sleeping at the office, that type of thing, 24/7. Like, it's a hustle, folks. You've got to put it in there, okay? And anybody that tells you otherwise, no, you've got to give 100% all the time in that respect. But what I will tell you is that 12 years on, I have 3 office locations, although I haven't been in my Toronto office for 16 months for obvious reasons. Okay, I was in Burlington office a little bit last summer, and our head office is in London, and we have, I'm proud to say, 17 staff members now, and that blows my mind. Okay, so if I can do it, then candidly, there's no reason why anybody else can't. And every single possible thing that could go wrong did go wrong. Okay, and it's not really anything other than just saying, okay, how do we solve the problem? And let's stick to the vision as we go forward. Revco's rules for business success: shameless self-promotion. Okay. Okay. Never miss an opportunity, because you can be great, but if nobody knows you're great, nobody's going to buy your product or service. Agreed? Bobbleheads, yes, yes. Okay. If you enjoyed today's presentation, hey, give me a 5-star Google review. Follow me on Instagram. It's Revco_and_associates. Okay. That'll make my CFO. I'll tell you a true story about my CFO. We've been friends for 14 years. He started off as a client of mine. We became good friends. And when he was looking to do something else after he got his MBA, he said, I like how you're always happy and passionate, Rod. He's like, you got a place in the organization? I said, I don't think so. I don't think I can afford to pay you what you are worth. And he's like, that's cool. I think if we work together, we can build it, and I just want to be in a good environment. And here we are now 4 years later, and he's been instrumental in helping me with our Instagram, social media, etc. I'll tell you why I give him a shout out, because very few law firms, we tend to be a little bit conservative in my profession. I'm not, okay? And I was like, hey, Instagram, cool, let's do that. Hey, Facebook, hey, let's stay with the tech, because in my opinion, that's not going anywhere. And there's so many opportunities that I see out there. And that's why I love working with startup entrepreneurs, because I like to give you all the wealth of my knowledge. And my business model is I just tell people, give a better customer service experience and charge below market price, and you'll do quite well with whatever product or service you're deciding to proceed. I'm happy to have further questions because I talk a lot in that respect. So first question I have is for the first person that goes on, that hasn't won $50 already, what's the maximum amount of shareholders that a privately held company in Ontario can have? First person who answers gets $50. Anybody? Nobody paying attention?
I know the answer, but I already won.
Okay, so pick somebody else that hasn't won and help them out.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Evody, and the answer is less than 50 shareholders.
You got it. You got some love there from Abigail, so you got to give her a shout out, okay? If it's okay, folks, I'm going to do some shameless pictures, old school style, like this, because I'll make a post in that respect. But again, the last slide there is never miss an opportunity to shamelessly self-promote, okay? You have to. It's part of the entrepreneurs, okay? Because I love watching Instagram for all new business ideas, and I go, oh, that's fascinating. I could use that product or service. I didn't know that. Something I'm really a big fan of now is instead of the old school business cards, which are still going to be there, but the tech business cards where you just tap, that's really cool, folks. And it's cheap too, like cost effective. So you got that, you look cool, you're cutting edge, and you can customize it. I found that on Instagram, and then I did some research. I was like, yeah, I want that. That's cool. Wouldn't know unless someone decided to launch that campaign. And the other advantage that you've got right now is that social media is such a powerful tool to do cool stuff like this, but also promote in that respect. I've got some time for some questions. If you're cool with that, David, anybody have questions for me?
Looks like we do have a couple hands raised. Looks like
Okay.
There's up. Yeah.
Cecilia,
definitely.
you haven't won $50, so what's your question, Cecilia?
Okay, my question was about sole proprietorship license you mentioned at the beginning. I'm just wondering if that's separate or the same from just like a general business license.
The general business license is exactly the same.
It is
So
the same.
what I will tell you, that's a great question if I didn't mention it. When you incorporate, okay, that is your business license, okay? Right now, the total cost of incorporation for Ontario is about $300. So you get what you pay for, okay? It's considerably more. That doesn't include name searches, legal fees, that type of thing. I think we do corporations, actually, it's $11.95 plus HST. That includes everything. I'm below market for the reasons I've already told you. That's shameless self-promotion, but the reason why I'm mentioning this is you get a lot more than your $65 for just your general business license. If that answers your question. It's a great question, you get $50. Next question, Tracy.
Hi, thank you so much for all the information. I'm wondering, So we look to we're looking to incorporate me and my husband like longer term. So should we just incorporate right from the get-go or stick
Um,
with partnership and then go from there?
well, when it's you and your husband, I'm less concerned because when you're married, it's 50-50. Okay. So I'm less concerned about that. And you can still get a shareholders agreement, but because it's already 50-50, family law covers that. What I will tell you though is if you recall, if this is going to be a side hustle, totally fine. Okay. If this is for less than 30 grand, but if it's going to be something that you're going to grow, my candid opinion is invest the money. It's not a huge dollar amount relative if you're planning to grow your business to the $100,000 or $200,000 level within the next couple of years. I'll give a shout out to my accountant's friend, again, proud son of an accountant now retired. Your accountant will tell you don't bother incorporating for tax purposes until you're past about 100 grand. Okay. But that's the accountant's perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because if you get sued, you don't talk to your accountant, correct? Okay. And you want that corporate veil of protection. And that's no disrespect whatsoever to either my dad or any other of my accountant friends out there. Okay. But that liability protection. So Tracy, if you and your husband own a house and you have $200,000 in equity in that house, which I hope you do or more, do not risk it. Spend $1,500 at most and get yourself incorporated to protect your personal assets would be the answer to the question. If that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions, folks? Abigail.
So my question is a little similar to Tracy's, but my business is a hair care product line.
Yep.
So I'm definitely concerned about products liability and would want to have appropriate insurance coverage in that regard. But something my financial advisor had said to me was that he knew of somebody with a company who so I was talking about potentially doing a numbered company for my business. And he said that he knew of somebody who, because they had such a large volume of products and a large revenue volume as well, they created a numbered company for each individual product to insulate them from a liability perspective. I was wondering, once I get to a certain level volume wise in my company, do you recommend doing something similar? For example, I have my initial line is going to be for natural hair, then for chemically treated hair, then for colored hair, for men's hair care. So would you suggest like isolating them individually in that way by the line to insulate for liability purposes?
The answer is yes, but not necessarily right. Like you'll do it in stages. So it's a long answer to that question.
Okay.
You first have to establish your brand, okay, and your product, okay, because you need to hit economies of scale aspect where your profit margins, you're selling enough product, okay?
Okay.
And I would suggest focusing on things that are going to lead you towards profitability as quickly as possible. Thereafter, your initial corp up here can have subsidiary corporations, okay? Because you owning beauty salons makes 100% sense, okay? So why wouldn't you now open up a franchise situation that's going to sell your products for hair care or otherwise, vertically integrated monopoly?
I love it.
Okay, but you're not there yet. Okay, so you focus and you go, okay, I'm going to pick 3 products. I'm going to maximize my profitability, get revenues going, and I'm going to call Rod in 2 years when I've hit $2 million in gross revenues or sooner, and go, let's continue the conversation about those beauty salon franchises because I heard that's a good thing. And then why don't I just buy my own manufacturing plant? Because then I can produce it instead of having to buy it from somebody in that respect. So the answer to the question is yes, but your foundation, focus, make some money, and then you can spend some money to continue to grow and acquire. Okay. And that's where the subsidiary. Long-term corporate structure is you're going to have a hold code that does nothing other than own your shares in your respective businesses. Okay. And that's the answer to the question as short as I can.
Okay, awesome. That was very helpful. Would you recommend me starting as a sole proprietorship until I reach that 30K threshold, even though I'm a product that could be susceptible to liability?
Do you want the human being answer or do you want the lawyer answer?
Both,
Uh,
even if they contradict each other. I like the truth.
Geez, I haven't been a human being for such a long period of time. My second lawyer joke today. Okay. With your ambition, if I was your legal counsel, okay, and I'm not, okay.
Not
If I
yet.
was, and I have no problem. Exactly. Talk to me. Okay. Whatever. Follow me on Instagram. Okay.
Already did.
Perfect. So what I would tell you is this. The human answer is only because, well, do I really want to spend a few bucks on incorporation? Because you will not be able to convince me or give me one reason why you should be a sole proprietorship. And the lawyer answer is damn straight. Okay. Like you're not already incorporated, Abigail? Come on. With the ambition and the plan to dominate, like you should be teaching me. Okay.
I was just worried about the time frame to build to at the revenue scale that would warrant corporation.
Let me
Based
eliminate.
on what you had said earlier.
Yeah,
But
you
if
don't-
that's not the concern, then I'll incorporate or sooner rather than later.
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm assuming what you're not going to disclose right now is you got a really cool name that you want to brand, correct?
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. Give me a call, get it incorporated. It can't be Facebook. It can't be Amazon. Can't be Microsoft.
I'm
Okay.
way more creative than that.
You
It's
keep,
okay.
I figured. So you keep that blank on lockdown, okay, until you own it. Okay.
Okay.
So that was the lawyer answer, which is also the human answer.
I appreciate
the bottom.
it.
Follow what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely. We will
So that's-
definitely talk soon. Take
That's
care.
critical. Okay. In that respect, I have a blank with your name because you have your hand up, and I've already given you $50, I believe. So say your name again because I mispronounced it. I don't want to keep mispronouncing it. So say it one last time.
Evity.
Evity. I will never forget that as long as I live. What was it again? Evity? Okay, yes. Perfect. The floor is yours.
Okay, so first I want to say, you are the most like fun lawyer I think I've ever met since like Suits. Like,
What are you talking about?
and I think
Are
this
you
is
saying I'm Spectre-esque?
that's funny.
I don't take meetings, I set meetings.
I said,
Okay. I have
okay.
24 suits at home that I haven't worn in 16 months.
But no, this is great.
547 times. Not that
Right.
I'm keeping track. I'm joking. I don't actually know
Oh.
how many ties I have. It's a lot. Haven't bought a tie in 16 months. True story. Anyways, continue. I'm teasing you, but I appreciate that compliment if it was in fact a compliment.
Yes, definitely it was.
Thank you.
So I have a lot of questions, but I will narrow it down. So LEAP has taught me to break my vision down because I always start at the end and then like I forget about all the details. So during this time, I've been like really breaking it down. And so right now I'm doing consulting for businesses, leaders who are aim to create content that exposes problems, educates on solution, and empowers Black communities, and as well as birthing a movement that has to do with tangible change for the Black community. And so I'm doing consulting and coaching for creating that kind of content. But then on the back end, I'm developing a media platform. So it's not only for my own content, but for now, as I coach these people, for them to be on my platform. And then a network of all of these experts, businesses, organizations that I'll be able to draw on for eventually an academy to develop. So it's like, it's this process. And so it has to do with many different aspects. And my question is, can I have one corporation with several business underneath it? And then on top of that, as I build on things, what I would like to have is a platform, a business, or something that helps other Black owned businesses that are like under the We Black network, because that is the whole thing. It's about tangible change, forward movement. So using the media as well as networks, and eventually, personal development or whatever that is. And another thing is, can it be international? Because I'm incorporated in another country, but I'm a sole proprietor here. So how does that work?
You need an hour and a half with me.
Okay, and that was my last question, which was, how much is your consulting rate?
Fair enough. So let me answer that question first. Everybody today, because we're going to have to wrap up, I'm assuming David's going to give me the cut sign at some point. But my email address, if you've got your pens, etc., that sort of thing, is RR, E as in Edward, F as in Frank, C as in Charles, IO at rrlaw.ca. Okay. In that respect, David's got my contact.
If you guys forget it, it's on FOL under Rod's contact for today as well.
Yeah. I do manage most of my social media myself, although I have a few helpers. So if you DM me, okay, slide in my DMs, then I'll hook you up. So everybody gets a free at least half hour or hour consultation if you've got questions thereafter, okay? Just to, because you gave me a whole thing, I could give a 2-hour lecture on what you asked. First of all, let me say, everything you said is really cool, okay? And I would love to be a part of helping something like that. Your brand and your business may be two different things. So you may want to own the brand, okay? That may be not for profit structure wise, still within a corporate or otherwise, that you can license out, okay? In that respect, on an international scale. And remember, in terms of where you plant your flag, if I don't know which country you're in internationally, but you plant your flag there, and then you want to plant your flag here in Ontario. I recently did this for another client, same thing. And I said, for sure, you just got to set up a subsidiary here and then go. And they were already operating in Canada. And when they got referred to me, I said, yeah, we just got to set up a new subsidiary so that we planted the flag here, and then we'll expand to the US and Mexico and so on and so forth in that respect. But critical, because you're thinking on a global scale, you want to own and plant as many flags for your, we'll call it social business agenda, okay? Which I think is the wave of the future, okay, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the really, really cool stuff where you're saying everything that we do is going to hit our mission statement. And if you may be approached by people say, okay, can we operate under your banner because we want to do X, Y, Z, okay? And you say, yes, here's the deal. We'll license it out to you, for example. You pay this much per month, and then you get our stamp of approval. But here's what you have to do is meet our criteria, just off the top of my head. But again, hit me up for email, DM, or otherwise, and I'll give you a thorough, more detailed answer to that question. But for now, I like the idea very much. It is, again, like with Abigail, you want to control, okay? For you, though, it's not just the brand, it's the socially conscious objective, okay? I'm most passionate about building a better law firm, being cool and doing good things in my particular area. And I suggest that all entrepreneurs do the same thing, okay? So I'll give you an example and why what Ebony just said to me strikes. Our firm policy is that anything we do for promotion has to have a charitable component. So any advertising, okay, I spend $1, it has to go towards a charity. So if you want $1 or $1,000 towards your golf sponsorship, it should be a charity, okay? Something like that. What you're describing is similar, except you're really ambitious. I don't even rank, okay? You're like global, okay? So that's really, really cool in that respect. And when you're setting up your business, if you want that to be part of your agenda, that's the wave of the future as far as I'm concerned. But you have to have control over your particular brand, if that answers your question.
Okay, so licensing it, I can make it optional to make it to give them shares.
No shares,
No
just
shares.
license. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Smart. Thank you.
That's the freebie for Dave. Hit me up, we'll go there. Any other questions, folks, before we wrap up? Okay, we're all cool? Excellent. Hopefully that's a good sign. I'll give you as much information as possible. If you haven't won your $50, all you have to do to qualify is send me an email and go something like, you're awesome. If you hit me a Google review, which you're not allowed to basically offer any bribes, so that's freebie. Follow me on Instagram, that type of stuff. Yeah, their algorithm gets you. It's the reality, okay? But you have to ask your customers to give you Google reviews, because if they don't, they won't, because the trolls will hate, but the good customers go like, yeah, sure, that's cool. That's great. It's just life. I'm telling you this, okay? You want to be entrepreneurs, you got to develop a little bit of a thick skin and be candid. That's what I will tell you. The basics are the basics, folks. Okay, we're all fast. Yeah, let me tell you this parting words. It's what I tell each and every one of my staff members, okay? Efficiency is accuracy and speed, okay? Speed is great, but if you don't got accuracy, you don't have efficiency, okay? And vice versa, okay? You could be accurate. How long did that take, Mr. You to do? 3 years? No, okay. To do a report? No, okay. So focus on the basics. Simple rules. It's all out there for you. Haste makes waste. Simple, right? Follow it. Focus on being efficient, which is accuracy and speed, okay? Be candid. You want to know why? Okay, because you should be so damn busy doing what you're doing, you're passionate about, you ain't got time to lie, okay? Period. I don't got time to lie. I got to get back at it, folks, okay? So tell the truth. It's a very valuable commodity, okay? Because it's so rare, okay? Better than gold, better than diamonds, okay? Here's the other point I will tell you. You will never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you. Let me give you some examples. Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Cuban have not criticized Rod Refcio today, and never will, okay? They don't care what Brooke Davidson did today, or Jenny B, or Rachel, or otherwise. Why? Okay, because they're too damn busy doing what they need to do that they're passionate about. But remember, what I also said is every single customer complaint, which you're going to have in entrepreneurship, I'll thank you, constructive criticism, how do I make it better? Okay. And sometimes it's just like, hey, we didn't tell the person that. I'll leave you with this final story. I was reading through TripAdvisor back before pre-pandemic, thinking about a place, okay, that we could go for vacation. And one of the comments was 1 out of 5. And I'm like, wow, everything else is great. It was this luxury place, okay, down south. And poor customer service, horrible. And this was a place down, they've got them in the Maldives or whatever it is, where it's the huts over the water, okay? Have you seen these fancy things? We'll follow Instagram. They're all over the place, okay? And I was like, that'd be cool. I want that. And they don't even wake you up, but you can order your breakfast in the morning, okay? So they have a little thing and you just fill out the card and they deliver it. So if you want your coffee at 6 a.m., watch the sunrise, cool. If you want it, you want to be disturbed till 10, they don't even knock on the door, just put it in its own little container, okay? Then you can open the door and open it. One of the complaints was that when I got my coffee, okay, it was cold, okay? And horrible customer service, et cetera, trash. Response from owner. Dear valued guest, thank you for your feedback. At our such and such resort, we offer delivery of your food in 15-minute increments. We can only imagine that your coffee was cold because it was not delivered at the time when you actually woke up as per your request. So we would encourage you to come back and simply indicate the time that you actually want to wake up and have your coffee so that it's not cold. Thank you very much for this feedback, as we'll use it to implement. Now, you're all entrepreneurs, okay? That's an exceptional manager that you want to hire that guy, okay? Because what he should have said was, if you wanted your coffee at 6:30, why didn't you just say 6:30? Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, he didn't do that. I'm going to that resort, folks, as soon as I can, which I hope is sometime maybe next year, if at all possible, because it's well run. I'll leave you with that little tidbit and why being cool is absolutely the way to be on the path to success. Abigail, you got one last question because I got a jet.
My only question was, how do we claim our $50?
You got to email me with your contact information. If you're really cool, I might e-transfer you or send you an old school check. You can frame it, ask it back from your bank or otherwise, that type of thing. And again, everybody gets a free consultation. There's no charge, that type of stuff. And I'm happy to help each and every one of you. For those I didn't talk to directly, if you're shy or otherwise, you get solicitor client privilege when you send me an email. Cool, folks?
Rod, thank you so much for
Thanks, David.
not only all this knowledge, providing all these resources to everybody, and being so generous and fun. It's great when we have a really fun presenter, and you bring definitely an energy that really stands out among all our presenters this year. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
My absolute pleasure. I wish all of you multi-million-dollar successes, and I look forward to hearing from you. Happy to give back. Learn from my example. So when you're all big, rich, and successful, don't forget when you were sitting right here, okay? Like I was in my kitchen 12 years ago, broke, okay? Pay it forward, folks. That's all I ask, okay? Make the world a better place. Cool? Okay, great chatting with each and every one of you. I look forward to hearing from you. And thanks again for the opportunity. I'm out. I got to get back to it, okay? Spectre-esque style.
Thank you, Rod. Have a great day.
Bye for now.
Bye. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think that was a lot of fun. Did you all agree? Yeah. You know, $50 richer. That's pretty nice. I didn't have any idea that he was going to do that, but happy that he did. That's pretty awesome. Smart way to be in business, right? Just keep bringing value. Even though it might cost him up front right now, that value that is going to extend past here is something you can see, right? You always have great things to say about that presentation, right? So awesome. Does anyone have any questions for myself, for Kelsey or Jenny right now after that presentation?
I do, but I don't know if you guys can answer it. I forgot to ask it, but
Probably not.
does it matter if you use Inc., Ltd, Corp, Co, .co or something like that in your business name before you are incorporated, or even when you're incorporated? Do they have different structures?
You cannot use those in your name if you are not a corporate structure.
Okay. But if you are, when you do register, you'll have you have to put exactly what you're incorporated as, or can you just put Inc., Ltd, Co, or whatever?
Actually, you don't need to use any of those things technically. Like, you don't have to say Inc. Like, if you were incorporated, that's not a requirement. Your operating name and the corporation name can be two different things if you choose to be. So you can short form it. It's up to you. Once you have the corporation, you kind of have a lot, because you own the name, a lot of control over what you can kind of do there. Sometimes people want the Inc. because it's distinctive, that it says that it is limited or you are incorporated. It comes with a certain kind of look. In certain industries, it is mandatory that you have to list that you are incorporated. Sometimes it's an insurance requirement. It just depends on your industry. Whether or not, what all the different designations specifically mean, whether co or this or that, I don't know, but you can actually look it up and find the list. But yeah, if you are like a sole proprietorship or partnership, you cannot put Inc. or Co. or things
Okay.
of that nature. It's illegal actually to do that. So
And do you have to own the name in every country or can you just own the name and now everyone around the world?
So yeah, that's where it gets a little interesting. When that's a better question for Rod or another lawyer would be, because there's also a difference between trademarking and copywriting as well, right? Like once it becomes like a visual logo and things like that. But the actual name, like once you own that name, it's as a corporation, it is yours. Now, how far that corporate designation extends, I'm not sure. It might just be Canada. I think there is, like when you do a nuance report, which is what you file when you're trying to incorporate, you do a search through this system on the government's website, or that's something your lawyer would do for you, and it'll look for all the designations of that name globally. And I think there's just an extended fee every time you register that name, that corporate name in a different country. There's just more fees that are associated. So if you have aspirations to be international in every country, well then yeah, that's something you'd want to look at in the future. But if you're, if you're localized to your local community, it's probably not necessary to go beyond Ontario.
Okay.
But don't take my advice. That's not legal advice. Please talk to a lawyer.
Okay.
Awesome. Great questions, Ebony. Thank you. Great. Well, I think that was a lot of fun today. I've never seen a legal professional bring that kind of energy before. So that was nice. I thought today, we were talking before this session, Kelsey, Jenny, and I was like, well, probably going to see some glazed over eyes today and a lot of just kind of head nodding or cameras off, but I'm happy that that was not the case. But tomorrow, tomorrow's going to be intense, guys. So tomorrow we're jumping into 2 days of finance. Tomorrow is all about planning for profitability. So please come ready. Everything is uploaded on FOL. Of all the things that are on there for tomorrow, I do recommend that you download the readings and at least try to skim through it a bit tonight. If not, consume the whole thing. Because it is a big topic and it'll be helpful tomorrow as the presentation is happening with our accounting professional that's coming in, that you have at least a bit of knowledge of what she's going to be talking about. She built this presentation custom to you based on the readings. So it's going to be helpful to kind of have the association of both. The other thing you may need as you're going through it, it depends on how far you get into the readings, but there is the financial template that is available on FOL as well. It's an Excel file, has pre-programmed macros. So you just have to enable them. There's instructions with it. That's a very helpful tool when you're ready to start plugging your own numbers in. And there's exercises through that reading that will apply to that template once you get to the action steps as well. Okay, so we'll talk about it more tomorrow and on Thursday as well. So I'll be doing Thursday's session, and our guest speaker that day is actually going to be our financial consultants from Libro Financial are going to be joining us too. So the next couple of days is going to be all about money. Okay, guys, so get ready because it's going to be fun. With that though, I think that is everything for today. So if you want to stick around, if you have questions, like always, we're here. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure to check out everything on FOL for tomorrow and come prepared and ready and awake to learn more about controlling your numbers and understanding your finances, because that really can make or break success in your business. Very important, guys. Okay. So farewell, or stick around. Bye, everybody.
Bye.